They say monsters hide in forests, in shadows, in the dark corners of our imagination. But sometimes the real horror walks on 2 feet, eats from your table, and lives inside your home even after you are gone. This is not a legend. This is not fiction. This is the true story of the Hinterkaifeck Murders, one of the most terrifying unsolved crimes in history. It was March 1922 in a lonely Bavarian countryside. The Gruber family lived on a secluded farmstead known as Hinterkaifeck. From the outside, it seemed ordinary. A hard-working family tucked away from the world. But isolation has a way of amplifying silence, and in that silence, they began noticing things they couldn't explain. Andreas Gruber, the head of the household, discovered a trail of footprints in the snow. They came from the forest and led straight to the house, but there were no prints leading back. Someone had walked onto their property, but never left. At night, Andreas heard footsteps echoing from the attic. When he searched, he found nothing. No intruder. No signs of forced entry, just emptiness. Still, the unease lingered. Doors seemed unlocked when they swore they had been bolted shut. Keys went missing. Whispers of paranoia spread, but life had to continue. The animals needed tending. The children needed feeding. And so the Gruber family carried on, unaware that something or someone was watching. On March 31st, 1922, the farmstead fell silent forever. That evening, one by one, family members were lured into the barn. First Andreas, then his wife, then their daughter Victoria. Each struck down with a mattock, a brutal farming tool with a blade sharp enough to split bone. The blows were precise, merciless, deliberate. After the barn was soaked in blood, the killer moved calmly into the house. The maid Maria, only on her very first day of work, was murdered in her chamber. Then the youngest little Cecilia, just 7 years old. The slaughter was total. 6 lives erased in a single night. But the horror was only beginning. In the days that followed, neighbors grew curious. Smoke rose from the farmhouse chimney. The animals were fed. Fresh meals had been eaten. And yet, no one from the Gruber family had been seen in town. When the neighbors finally investigated, what they found still chills the world today. The entire family lay slaughtered, covered crudely with hay and sheets, as though tucked in by their killer. The house was eerily orderly. Someone had been living there, sleeping in their beds, eating at their table, and tending their farm as though it now belonged to them. The authorities were baffled. The murderer had stayed for days after the killings, existing among the corpses, perhaps even listening to neighbors knocking on the door. Whoever it was, they weren't in a rush to leave. Police scoured the property. They questioned villagers. They suspected thieves, vagrants, even neighbors with grudges. But the brutality, the patience, and the eerie domesticity of the killer didn't fit the profile of a simple robbery. Nothing valuable was taken. Theories swirled. Some believed it was Victoria's ex-lover seeking vengeance. Others whispered that Andreas himself had enemies, perhaps even within his own family. But no evidence could ever tie anyone to the crime. The murder weapon was never found. Fingerprints were inconclusive. Witnesses had no clear answers. And in the silence of Hinterkaifeck, the truth rotted with the corpses. More than a century later, the case remains unsolved. Generations have studied it. Books written, documentaries filmed, theories debated. But the most horrifying detail is the one that no theory can explain away: the footprints in the snow. leading to the house but never leaving, the missing keys, the footsteps in the attic, the unseen presence that had already moved in long before the murders began. Someone was living among them, hiding in the shadows, waiting for the perfect night to strike. On March, a full moon illuminated the quiet fields around Hinterkaifeck. By morning, 6 bodies would be found beneath a blood-soaked sheet in the barn. The animals undisturbed. The killer vanished. The farmhouse would be demolished years later, but the land remains. Locals say the earth itself feels heavy there, as though the soil remembers. And maybe, just maybe, the one who walked into Hinterkaifeck that night never truly left. So many questions surround the Hinterkaifeck case that we've broken down the top 5 theories in another video. Plus, we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts on the unsolved mystery.